Hello Indie Game fan, there's so much to cover with new announcements and updates, so let's begin with Deep Rock Galactic Survivor, a spin-off of the tremendously popular co-op extraction shooter, where yes, it is another Vampire Survivors clone, but interestingly, it's not from Ghost Ship games themselves, so maybe with the mining, it will have a different spin. One of my favourite puzzle games is Polybridge, where once upon a time, there was a boom in bridge constructor type games, with the physics and mechanics of this title really impressed, so Polybridge 3 is of interest, where the low poly look now has more detail and looks awesome, with more than 100 new levels to puzzle out. Remember when I told you that this game would get a new trailer during Indie Gaming this week? Well, that is because this video is brought to you by Tainted Grail: The Fall of Avalon, an ambitious first-person open-world RPG set in a grimdark world based on Arthurian legend. It is based on a physical board game of the same name, with the same developer first releasing the roguelite RPG Tainted Grail Conquest in 2021, which was in early access for a little bit, where this game is the next step in the same grim world. There's sword and board, bows, daggers and magic to use to dispatch your enemies as you roam a truly open world with plenty of crafting and trading systems as well. However, given the ambitious scope and that it is an early access release after all, the developers do warn of save compatibility as the game gets patched, as well as bugs, glitches and lack of final polish, but I do think that it's admirable to see a smaller team take on this level of challenge, so here's wishing them all the luck in the world, where if you are curious, do pick it up via the link in the description below. We did also get a new look at Kingdom 80s as well, a very strange and alternate version of the medieval fantasy side-scrolling strategy series Kingdom, which does have a 1980s, almost Stranger Things-like skin applied on top of it. Instead of horses, you're riding around on bicycles, where you're defending the town from the forces of the Greed. The same side-scrolling strategy and action are present, where you're recruiting the neighborhood kids to help build and expand your base, or to lend a hand in defense, with this having a summer camp vibe, which leads to me guessing that it might be a summer release, although no official release date has been given. I hope I don't get copyright claims for this trailer, since rhythm and music based games are notoriously bad about this, so if you are listening to this then we are lucky, where this is the latest DLC to Metal Hellsinger named Dream of the Beast. This game was one of the highlights of 2022, with this package adding 2 new songs, 1 new weapon and 3 gameplay altering outfits, making it even better. Okay, so we don't quite have a trailer for this game, but one look at the art style and you might be able to guess who this is from, since Slime 3K Rise Against Despot does share a very similar look to Despot's game, and indeed is set in the same universe, but where that game was a roguelite auto-battler, this game reverses the concept and has you fighting off the human clones from the other game, having some level of Vampire Survivors influence, but as always, the pixel art from this developer continues to impress. This next title might come as a surprise to some of you, since the latest game in the Enter the Gungeon series is titled House of the Gundead, a game which was announced 3 years ago and sounded pretty wild at the time, being an arcade light gun game of all things, which is crazy in 2023. Well, the game is finally here and looks to be joining arcade legends like Time Crisis and of course, probably the source of the name of this game in The House of the Dead, and does look fun, so if you have a cool $5,499 sitting around, you can order one of these for yourself, or look out for these in an arcade near you. Speaking of weird, a very cool, very strange title was SLUDGE Live from 2020, which is free to keep right now on Steam, so its sequel, SLUDGE Live 2, is worth keeping an eye on, spotting similar visuals and gameplay but in a new area. It self-describes as a first-person vandalism sim, which is not too far from the truth, set in a nihilistic world with interesting characters to say the least. It's weird and unique and is published by Devolver, so you know there's something here, so check out the first game if you have not and wishlist the sequel. Surprise! We did also see the return of a familiar foe in Shovel Knight Dig, Fate and Fortune, a free update to the roguelite spin-off of Shovel Knight that is available right now, adding more content in Nightmare mode, which applies post-game. Think of these as ascension levels in a roguelite, where in addition to the added challenge, there are new features such as being able to quit a run midway through without losing gems, as well as an in-game achievement or mental system, a compendium which records everything in-game, new music, quality of life improvements and more. Now, I'm excited to share this one since we did get an extended look at this third-person action roguelite named Hyper Light Breaker, which is of course the sequel to Hyper Light Drifter, but does significantly change things up. Technically, Heart Machine is no longer a small scrappy indie team, but has really grown and even has the support of Gearbox Publishing with this game, being in the same situation as Risk of Rain 2. But I think that enough of you are looking forward to this to warrant a mention. It's the first extended look at the gameplay, set in an area known as the Overgrowth, which conveniently lends itself to procedural generation for plenty of free playability. There are vicious enemies to fight, secrets to uncover, and varied biomes to explore, with a number of traversal options as well, including wall dashing, a hoverboard, glider, and more. Not to be pointing out too many similarities, but you have a number of playable characters named Breakers to choose from, again being a parallel to the characters in Risk of Rain 2, where each is supposed to have their own unique abilities and will be different to play. It is a roguelite, so with each death and subsequent attempt, you uncover just a little bit more about the world, where they have added the settlement building meta element to the game, which is always something that I love. It looks gorgeous as well, and I'll say it again, the bigger budget 3D roguelite is going to become a thing, which might result in the usual cycle of hype, oversaturation and crash, but I'll take what we can get from these. I was pleasantly surprised to see this action puzzle game being announced, where if the characters looked familiar, that is because it is a spin-off of Super Meat Boy, where the parallel to Dr. Robotnik's Mean Bean Machine is named Dr. Fetus's Mean Meat Machine, adding in traps and hazards to a puzzle game. We can watch this for more indie game sequels.